And I'm here this morning with another one of my gorgeous, brilliant-minded girlfriends,
Why,
Millie
thank you, darling.
Gormley. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you so much. Millie is passionate about women connecting with their wealth, and she loves working with women to understand that they have access and a greater capacity and access to wealth than most realize. And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of myths out there, and that's I just said to Millie, you just have to come and speak to this group, aspiring to inspiring, because I just love that online today, especially for women, there's just so much more discussion around financial planning, building your wealth, planning for another time in your life, and doing this daily, monthly, yearly. So I want to introduce you to Millie Gormley, who's joining me from Thunder Bay.
Yes.
Yeah, Thunder Bay, Ontario. Where am I?
Right? Time zones.
Yes.
It's a thing.
Yeah, welcome, Millie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so nice just getting to know you over the last little while and kind of doing the online networking thing. I mean, every cloud has a silver lining, and the silver lining to the whole pandemic situation is the fact that we are now able to meet with people that we wouldn't necessarily ever have crossed paths with in real life, as it were. And it's a wonderful opportunity to reach more people and to have more conversations around, well, everything in life, but for me specifically, it is about women and their wealth. And you're right, I am passionate about having women feel comfortable and confident and calm about their finances. Money is such an emotional issue. We all have things that we think about money or that we feel about money that we don't even realize we think about.
Right. Right.
Like those things from childhood.
Well, this is exactly why women, having access to you, and what you say about this time in the world too. I think this is one of the greatest gifts, is that we're able to access this information, and the people, like one-on-one like this. Like, I really consider you very high level and an authority and an expert in your field. And I can hop on a call with you, and I met you through a networking event. And so, Millie, how did you come to be doing this work?
Well, you know what? I used to be an insurance claims adjuster, and that is a good, solid industry to be in, as far as you'll always have work, right? So, the thing is with insurance, that, or at least on the claims side of things, is that you only ever meet someone after something horrible has happened to them. Their basement has flooded. There's been a fire in their house. They've had a car accident. I mean, it's a very stressful time in their lives. And no matter how much you are willing and able to help them, ultimately you work for the insurance company. And so for me, it started to become pretty difficult, and it started to be emotionally hard.
Well, can I share with you, Millie? Actually, I had I knock on wood. I've driven millions of miles. And we drive across North America. That's our fun thing to do. I only had one incident with a deer, so awful. But going through the process, and the fellow on the other end of the phone, he was. I actually ended up doing a therapy session with him, because he was so prepared to be attacked, because that's exactly what happens. He meets people at their worst time. For me, it was real estate often. Be prepared for competing offers, and they wouldn't believe me. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you see people on their worst date. And I just want to say hello to everyone who's joining us live. We have some viewers we're live streaming today to three different platforms, and I can't see who's actually joining me unless you type in your name and where you're coming in from, and would really appreciate that. So we have we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're all over the place today, Millie. So thanks
Awesome.
to everyone coming in. So yes, Millie, you were saying.
Yes, so I was an insurance claims adjuster, and it was getting it was getting hard. So I moved into the financial services end of the financial services industry. And the nice thing about what I do now is that no matter where someone is in their life, if they've just lost their job, if they've just recently become divorced, if they just recently got married, if any number of things, even coming from a bankruptcy situation, one of the worst things that can happen to you as far as your finances goes, right up there is divorce. You're meeting with them wherever we're at now. That's level ground, and I can help you work up. I never want to be. I don't judge clients for the decisions they made in the past. You did the best you could with the information that you had at the time. Would you do things differently knowing what you do now? Most of us would in many situations in our lives, but we don't have that opportunity. So the best we can do is look at what we've got and build and go forward and build up. And that's what I like to do.
So I want to ask, first of all, what are the things that cause people to go wrong? Like what's the biggest mistake, and what's the biggest turnaround for people? So if you cover the biggest mistake first of all.
That's the thing. It's hard to really pin down and say what's the biggest mistake, because if you're in a situation where you have the ability to earn a living, it's pretty hard for one decision to completely throw everything off the rails. It's usually a collection of small decisions done over a long period of time that will cause things to not go the way you want them to. They talk about the latte effect, where well, if you only spent bought one less fancy coffee every day, then you could be a millionaire. Blah blah blah.
I tell you, yeah. I'm just gonna light on that one, because sure. I love a long shot espresso. In the summer, it's over ice. In the winter, it turns into Americano. So and I don't live close to Starbucks, so we have a drive. So it's a couple of dollars. It's great. But my daughter turned me on to salted caramel cold brew. Ooh. And that's like just about $6.
Right? Like, exactly.
I said to my husband, I said, we're going to go through, we always go through Starbucks when we get to the city. I said, I'm going to treat you today. So we did it. It was like $12 for the two of us. But he took a sip, and then he looks at me, and I go, I know, right? But in life, that's what happens, right? We get, it's like addictions. We get addicted to that stuff that we know, it's good. And if I just did it once in a while, but it's like, it's really good.
Well, and that's the thing. It's when those once in a while treats become an everyday necessity that you can start going off the rails. And on the other side of it, it's making those small decisions in the moment that can turn things around for you as well. So it's making sure that you set yourself up with some kind of a savings plan that that will happen automatically for you, so that you don't have to think about it. Because if you think about it, the odds are, or if you have to think about it, the odds of you actually going through and doing it go way down than if you just say, okay, I'm going to set myself up an account. I'm going to set myself up with a saving plan. Every time my paycheck comes, a couple $100 goes into my savings plan, and you can wash your hands of it and get on with your life. And you only spend what's in your account. And making sure that you have the opportunity, or that you make the opportunity to sit down with someone who can help you get a handle on all of the pieces of the puzzle. Because cash management is kind of where it starts. And that's where most of us basically start with any kind of a savings plan or any kind of a retirement plan. It's okay, well, I've got X amount of dollars coming in. What can I do with that to set myself up for the future? Well, once you've kind of got that under control, then you start talking about, okay, well, let's look at how can I make sure that I save the maximum amount of taxes, or pay the appropriate amount of taxes. I mean, this is a country, this is a society where Paying taxes provides services, and we need to pay taxes. And I'm not in the business of telling people how to avoid doing that. But there is certainly no sense and no justification or logic in paying more than you have to. So you want to set yourself up that way you get to keep more of what you earn. And then you start talking about, okay, well, let's look at the rest of my life. Who are the people I care about? What would happen to them if something happened to me? So if I was unable to work because of a disability or an illness, or if I passed away suddenly, what would happen to these people? And that's when we start talking about insurance. So all of those pieces of the puzzle start to come together. And then when you've got an opportunity to meet with a professional to help you deal with it, then it can be done in a much more efficient manner. I mean, yes, it is possible to go online and set yourself up with a trading account and start buying and selling stocks. And I do it myself. I've got a couple little trading accounts. I've got a tiny little bit of crypto, and it's fun, and you do learn a lot doing that. But at the same time,
thank you for saying that. Because I want to kind of talk about that a little bit, because I got some too.
Well, you know what? It's now granted, just disclaimer, because the compliance folks would have a hissy fit if I was starting to give advice on the air.
Oh, yeah. So just saying
about crypto.
Millie is not giving any financial advice. No. We're strictly having a conversation here. And
informational purposes only.
This is for us girlfriends and the few gentlemen that are watching, but this is all. Put your questions in. We have several viewers in watching, and so type your questions in. Let's make this really interactive. We've got an expert in the financial and wealth sector here. Ask her, pick her brain, ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, to be fair, when you're asking questions in an online forum like this, a lot of times the answer is going to start with the words, it depends, because finances are a very personal thing. And there are so many variables that you need to consider when you're looking at, what should I do with X or Y or Z? How much do I need to retire is a very, very personal number. Everybody's number is going to be different. And again, that's why sitting down with a professional is such a smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, so what do you think about crypto?
Well, you know what?
I'm not like putting you on the spot or anything.
Well, you know what? I'm still not entirely sure what I think about crypto.
Are you making some money? Can I ask you that?
I'll be honest with you, no.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you need to talk to me.
I did do pretty well in marijuana stocks a couple of years ago. I did okay with that. Yeah.
I gotta tell you.
It's there's a difference between speculating, which is what crypto's speculating. Marijuana stocks for me were speculating, and investing.
What about magic mushrooms?
Magic mushrooms.
I gotta tell you, my brother-in-law is a former pastor, but since he's retired, like he's doing investing, and he's like, okay, they had to. Oh, I shouldn't say too much, but anyways, he advised his children to invest in the magic mushroom stocks. They all did a 200% investment return. It's like, okay, hello, I'm family.
And congratulations to them.
Mushrooms, but I would have thought.
But they got lucky, and that's the difference between speculating. You can get lucky or you can lose your shirt.
It has to be money that you're okay with losing.
100% willing to lose. Yeah. It's no different than going to the casino. It really isn't. You can win big at the casino, you can win big in the market, and you can lose your shirt in both places. So, like I said, I've got my little trading accounts, I've got my little crypto account, and I play with it once in a while. But the vast bulk of my personal money is in mutual funds and ETFs. Yeah. And it's not very sexy and it's not that exciting, but it works. And there's a track record there, and there's a safety factor there. Wow. So, there's a lot to be said for having a little bit of fun and playing around with things. Yeah. But you've got to put so much time and energy and knowledge, information gathering into it to really make it work for anyone long term. If you've got the time, if you're a retired pastor with a good internet connection and you want to spend that time that it would take to get good at online speculating, more power to you. Most people I know aren't like that.
Well, right. And that brings, forward the point too. And this is one of the things I love about Millie is that we have a really great rapport, and she's really open. And that's why I say, for all of you female entrepreneurs that are watching, it's like, you got to have a plan. You know that in
Yep.
your business, and you need to have an expert. And what really intrigued me about Millie in our conversation was that she says there's so much shame around. Here, I should start this other way.
Yeah.
So many people think that they have to know it all. And that was me. Like, I studied it. I gave some family some information that they really benefited from knowing, but it's like, it's vast. It's so vast. And I have another career, I have a life. It's like, Millie has spent her decades learning this. Yeah, and yeah, you're amazing, Millie, because
Thanks.
you're a brilliant young mind.
Young is up for debate, but yeah, sure.
Where you are in your life, because you've dedicated yourself to that craft and knowing it. And the thing is, viewers, those that are watching, is that you don't have to know everything. We're in a time where information is easy. We can go online and we can invest and we can do this and that, and some of us are, but it's like, if you really want to make a change and have that investment, you need to get in touch with an expert. Our first home the down payment was made possible because of our RSPs, and our children just now, we have one daughter that just took possession of her new house. They have an extraordinary income. They were able, they had their down payment, but what would have been easier would have been if they had RSPs. On the prices of houses these days.
It's getting tougher all the time, and it's what you were saying earlier about just the amount of information that's out there. Yes, it's overwhelming. And that's one reason why having a professional in your corner can be so useful. I mean, I put up an article on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago now about why I don't have a side hustle. Like, there's so many of us these days have got our sort of a regular job, and then there's this other thing that we do. Sometimes it's starting your own business, and you're doing that concurrently with your day job until you can take it over. But so many people have extra side projects and things that they want to do. And I did that for many, many years until I got to the point where I basically worked myself into the ground, and I couldn't do all of anything anymore. So I made the conscious, deliberate choice to focus on my financial planning practice. And I'm really glad I did, because that allowed me to have the time and the energy to gain the knowledge that I need to actually be at least somewhat comfortable with the idea of someone else calling me an expert.
Well, I love that you called it a practice, because in my my own life, my daily practice begins with, I'm very body based in my business, and I show up fully hydrated, body movement, yoga, whichever you want to call it. That's all done. Oh, and we had the water talk.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
we did.
See? Right? And so the brain can work and so on and so forth. But when I work with clients, I ask them, that's one of my first questions: what's your daily practice? And when even just the pause, I know they don't have one. When I was in real estate, if you did it part-time, it was like, And I would never hire a realtor that did it part-time, because they are part-time. They have part-timers.
Sure. And there is such a thing as part-time, advisors as well. But I really believe that and it is a practice, it's like the practice of law or the practice of medicine or the practice of financial planning is very much of a practice, because you're constantly learning. I mean, even if it wasn't for the fact that my professional association requires me to have, 30 hours of continuing education credits every year, I would still be attending these seminars and taking the courses and reading the books, because the second you stop learning, that's when you start stagnating, and that's when you start sliding back, and that's when you stop being able to provide the absolute best service for your clients. You need to know what's going on. You need to stay on top of the tax changes. You need to stay on top of what's going on in the economy. We cannot predict the future. I think one misconception that people may have about a financial advisor is that they're going to tell you where to invest your money, and that's going to make everything possible, make everything perfect. We can't do that. We cannot predict the future. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. We can identify trends. We can say, well, this could happen, but ultimately it comes down to making sure that whatever you invest in is something that you can live with when times are bad as well as when times are good. And that way you're not kind of dipping in and out of the market all the time, because that is a huge mistake as far as investing goes.
Yeah, well, I just really have been impressed with you just from the beginning, because it's so easy to talk to you, and I would feel very confident, share opening the doors, sharing all the stuff with you, because you truly care, and you're interested. So for those who are watching, Millie is coming into the call today from Hudson Bay, Ontario. She works full-time in the financial and wealth sector. She is a wealth advisor. Is that?
I'm a certified financial planner. So that's my designation. And that's the thing with our industry, actually. It is very confusing. It is very difficult for people to look at someone's advertising, say, and know whether or not that they are qualified to do what they do. And that's something that our professional associations are working on, in Ontario at least, is trying to kind of codify the things that people call themselves, because you can see financial advisors, there's investment advisors, there's financial coaches, there's financial planners, there's investment, like it gets completely off the rails. But as far as sort of the basic starting point, a certified financial planner designation is a good start, because we have, like I said, the continuing education requirements. There's a program of study that is not for sissies. And, it's a well-recognized designation, and it's a good starting point to look for that when you're talking to someone, or you're looking for someone new to discuss your financial plan with.
Well, that's a really good point when you say certified. And in my industry, as in therapy, certified or certifiable is kind of a loose term at times.
It can be, yeah.
This is what I've discovered. I am certified, licensed, registered, and insured.
Yep.
Because
all of those things.
3 serious modalities, one of them being yoga. I believe that is the credibility comes, like you say, with that daily practice, being invested in it. So, Millie, for people who are looking for female entrepreneurs who are really interested in going to that next level, how do you start with them? Because here's what I want to say to those who are watching live or on the replay, is that it doesn't cost you to pick up the phone to get on a call with Millie. How do you work with people?
Well, I'm working virtually, as many people are these days. So basically, what I look at when I'm having an initial conversation with a potential client is we get together, we have a Zoom or a Teams, or some video conferencing situation, and we just have a conversation. We talk about, what are you looking for as far as a financial planning relationship? What do you want to be when you grow up? What is your money for? And we'll start to have, it's more of a philosophical conversation than anything else at the very beginning. We may not even start talking hard numbers until the second meeting, because you want to be sure that whoever you're dealing with gets you, and that you get them, and that you feel that you're being able to communicate on a good level. I feel very strongly about making sure, like I said at the very beginning, that my clients are comfortable and confident that their money is in a good place and that it's working well for them. And the only way you can really determine that is to have a conversation with somebody. So, I'm very open to just, let's have a chat. let's talk, let's see, call it virtual coffee, call it virtual wine, whatever you like, depending on the time of day. And let's just talk. And if there's a click there, if there's an opportunity for us to work together, if it makes sense, then we explore the conversation further.
Okay. Well, you make it really easy. And don't you just love the online thing? Because like, when did we have time to drive to work?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, it's made like this is my home office. This is my house. This is where I live. And it's just made it so much more efficient. I can talk to more people in a day. I can talk to people who are further away than I would ever be able to service properly. And now that we've got the technology kind of up to speed, it is possible to have a good proper conversation, making eye contact and everything, and building that rapport and building that relationship. And it's also possible to do all of the technical stuff, like all of the paperwork, all of the account openings, all of the, let's do an insurance application. All of those things are now possible online, where even 2 years ago, it would have been, I don't know, you're too far away from me. I can't drive there in a couple of hours, and therefore we can't do business. And that's kind of a shame. I mean, the nice thing about being able to go online is that we can meet with people that we would normally never have had a chance to meet. So I'm able to work with anyone in the province of Ontario, which is pretty cool. And I like that.
That's pretty cool. So you have a live event coming up October
We
14th.
Let me tell you a little bit about it. So basically, Manjit Minhas, she is one of Canada's dragons on Dragon's Den, and she is providing a seminar unique to our company, to IG Wealth Management's clients and friends. And let's see, it's a business owners webinar, and she's going to be focusing on the 4 major stages of your business's life cycle, which are startup, growth and expansion, maturity, and succession planning. And that's one of the things that people often neglect is, how about when I want to get out? So lots of great information there from the perspective of someone who's been there. And all Canadian business owners are welcome to this seminar. So if that's something you think you might be interested in attending, please contact me and I will make sure that you can get in.
So is it so that I'm assuming that it's online and it's in person?
It's a Zoom. It is Zoom, okay. And it is free.
And so is she the one Minhas Beer?
Yes, that is her and her brother started the brewery years ago.
Is she from Saskatchewan? Because she lives out here, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, she's in Regina. Right.
Yes.
I had no idea she was a Dragon Den's alumni.
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
cool.
I'm not sure if this is her first season or her second season. I don't. I haven't seen too many of it, but but she
I'm not.
She is a powerhouse in Canadian business, and we're really proud that she's doing this with us. So
yeah, for sure. I'm not much of a drinker, but I like root beer, and she has root beer. That's
really I've not tried the root beer.
Got it. Yeah, if you're a root beer kid, that'll just it's the very best I've ever. Anyways, so well, that's great. So people can get a hold of you. And so after we complete the call today, the links are going to be if you have an email, you can pop in there now.
Email address would be fine in the comments.
Yeah, I don't know if you can access the comments, but you can.
I don't think I can. I can put
it in the private, and I'll copy it, put it in. So thank you to everyone who's joining us live. I'm here with Millie Gormley, who's a certified financial planner from Thunder Bay, Ontario. And she has quite a vast reach. So anywhere you are in Ontario, she can assist you. And, she's really passionate. Millie's really passionate about working with female entrepreneurs who don't have time to learn all this stuff, and you don't have to. It's get on a call with Millie and do that networking first, and see if you're a good right fit. I just love how you work like that. And I'm a networker at heart. I used to feel really frustrated going to networking events, and it was just all about, here's my card. I actually
Yeah,
went on a
exactly, right?
protest for 10 years. I didn't have business cards because no, I'm
Yeah.
not participating. I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet people.
Well, you know
And
what? I found that COVID really brought it home to me that I'm actually kind of an introvert at heart. I love doing these one-on-one conversations or having, a small group of people and let's have a good conversation. But 150 people in a room, I would find that I would go to these networking events and I really don't do the business card thing, but I would be just exhausted by the end of it. And I would come home and I would feel like I was drained. And I realized that's because my energy is in a better place when I'm talking with someone one on one. So yeah, so that's one way that the whole Zoom thing works out really well. It's for those of us who aren't necessarily comfortable being in that big crowd kind of situation. It allows us, it takes the pressure off. And again, that's the nice thing about doing Zoom meetings with a client or a prospective client. You're in your comfortable place. I am in my comfortable place. My cat is sleeping on the floor over there. So we're all just relaxed and that much more able to open up and be clear and honest with each other. And that's the best way to work.
yeah, I totally agree. I didn't know this until I got into online coaching that I'm an extroverted introvert.
Okay.
And because people say, you're an introvert? And it's like, yeah, because I go hard when I'm out there, but I need a lot of downtime. So
Yeah.
being in this environment serves me really well. So I can really get out there, be that social butterfly, live
Yep.
in kind of isolation, which I've done for many, many years. And,
Yep.
but still fill my soul with amazing people like yourself that I get to meet along the way. So to everyone who's watching, Millie's address is there. Reach out to her, especially because October 14th, she'd like to invite you as her guest to be part of the event that's going on with Manjeet Minhas, who's creator of Minhas Beer, who has the best root beer. Who's a Dragon's Den alumni, and it's for small or for Canadian business owners, and she's going to talk about the different stages of business, the startup, growth and expansion, and succession planning. Do you have an exit plan? Like that's something that we never used to talk about. Selling your business is one thing, but having an exit plan or a succession plan.
Yeah.
So, Millie,
you can't always assume that the kids are going to want to take over.
Well, what's that going to look like, right?
Right. And what's that going to look like? So I grew up on a farm. My brother has the farm. My sister and I, neither of us wanted the farm. But, but that's the kind of conversations that certainly in family-owned businesses or in entrepreneurial situations, that's a conversation that you need to have. Another one too, just in regular families, if there's a vacation home or a cottage, how is that going to transfer down to the next generation?
My God.
I'm getting all over the place, but I'm just thinking of all these things that people might not think about, but that having a conversation about with a financial planning professional can be of real benefit to you. So you don't have to struggle along and figure this stuff out on your own. That's why people like me are here.
Well, and just on that topic alone, I've known several people who, the parents pass and there's a vacation home and they can't afford the taxes. And then the fight starts around the siblings or what they're going to do and so on and so forth. And
planning ahead.
Finances create barriers and can destroy families. So planning
100%.
ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, those are, again, the kind of things that you want to bring in a professional to discuss how we can work with this and make it work for the family.
Right.
Very important stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That's a great closing note. Unless you have something else that you'd like to add, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've very much enjoyed speaking with you. And
again, yeah.
Great.
Again. There will be more.
Absolutely.
So for everyone who's watching, get a hold of Millie Gormley. She's in Thunder Bay, Ontario, but she has access to all the provincial financial and wealth sector for certified financial planners. And we're going to keep the feeds live too. So if you have any questions, whether you're watching on the replay, type in your questions and we'll respond to you. Millie will certainly reach
absolutely.
out. So thank
Happy
you so
to.
much for your time today.
Thank you.